Everybody, we have a busy day ahead of us. We're going to head up to Little League Baseball International and talk with Steve Keener. Steph, before we get there, you got an important interview ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to turn things over to Jody Miller, the captain of the Williamsport Bureau of Police, for just a little while. He's got a great message about the National Night Out, which was an event to bring together community members, community leaders, elected officials, emergency services. So we're going to send it over to the Bureau of Police for just a minute, and then when we come back, we'll meet over at Little League headquarters.
Say hello to all the good people in blue over there, and let's get going.
Hi, this is Captain Jody Miller for the Williamsport Bureau of Police, and I just wanted to thank everyone that came out to the last night's National Night Out. It was a great event. It was great to meet different members of the community and for everybody to come together for a common cause, which is community, which is country, which is crime prevention. It was a really great event. We want to thank some of the sponsors last night, Buffalo Wild Wings. We want to thank some of the other sponsors that came out that provided pizza and drinks for all the participants, the t-shirts. It was a great event. I also want to thank Jeff Reeder for organizing the event. I especially want to give a shout out to Joel Henderson for hosting it at his church, and also for the Blantons. For those that don't know, obviously for law enforcement, it's been a really tough time in the country over the last several weeks. Our hearts were broken over what happened in Dallas, Louisiana, and since then there's still been numerous attacks on law enforcement officers across the country. And we felt that here at home in Williamsport. And to have the community rally around us over the last several weeks through several events has been very encouraging to us. And Adrian and Quentin Blanton especially came out and met with me and some of the officers last night and said a special prayer for us and gave us words of encouragement. And to have that support was just phenomenal. We are absolutely doing our best for the community here in Williamsport. We want to provide the best services that we can for the citizens of Williamsport. And, to have people like that say that we have your back really meant a lot, and it was really special. And a heartfelt thank you from the men and women here at the Williamsport Bureau of Police back to the community here in Williamsport. I want to thank the Webb Weekly for doing some segments with us. We hope to continue that over the next several weeks and months. There's some ideas we're batting around to have some interaction with the community on the show, to spotlight different features of things going on here at the police department here in the city of Williamsport. So we want to thank you, and we're looking forward to that partnership and to see where that goes in the future. So Williamsport, stay tuned.
Adrian Blanton to lead us in prayer for our walk tonight.
Before I pray, I just want to read this to our policemen, our law enforcement, and just everybody here. This is what the Lord had placed in my heart, and I shared this with Captain Miller. I'm not going to read it all, but just a little bit. We ask a lot from our police, but are we truly supporting our police as citizens of Williamsport? Our officers will be trained and studied to be a part of our community. Not everybody has stepped up to this profession to work in this type of environment. We need more people to not be fearful to apply for positions in law enforcement. These men and women are our protectors for our community, as well as our pillars. Yes, our pillars here in the community. I am a firm believer that if we see something going on in our community, we got to say something. This is the national battle cry in our community. Our enemy is not our law enforcement. Let me say that. Our enemy is not our law enforcement. Our enemy is those who choose to do wrong. These men and women here are here because they enjoy their job. They risk their life every day for us. Every single day. Firemen, the police, they risk their lives. In making Williamsport a better community, we can start by carrying out duties and functions to lift up our officers that are risking their lives for us daily. In the year of 2016, the police force needs to know that this community of Williamsport, consisting of diversity, ethnicity, and economic groups, are here to support them. Every life matters. Right. Not just black. Right. Every life matters.
Every life.
Every life matters.
Man.
I don't care if you're Puerto Rican, whatever color you are, all of us matter. We all matter. So tonight we want to lift up our law enforcement. We want to lift up our firemen. We want to lift up those in codes. We want to pray for them because this community here, we need one another. We need one another to survive. So if we can come together, just come and all the law enforcement people, we can just pray for y'all. If y'all can come over here together, we can just pray for y'all because we just want y'all to know that we care about y'all.
Hello, we're here at one of my favorite places in the world. We're here at Little League Baseball International Headquarters, and I'm honored, Steph, that CEO and President Steve Keener have invited us into his office to do our show today.
Absolutely, his office is pretty spectacular too.
It is. Behind us we have beautiful Lamedy Stadium, and below that Volunteer Stadium, and the gorgeous grounds of Little League Baseball.
Absolutely.
And out of all the shows I do, you know me, this will probably be my most favorite. So.
Me too, actually. I enjoy the time I get to spend at the Little League World Series, and I get, with my media credentials, get me, in those first and third base wells. It's a great place to watch a game from, let me tell you.
And my first job ever was here, and I was a young man, maybe 10 or 11 years old, and I sold Gatorade, Orangeade, right behind us on this hill here. I didn't live far from here, and I rode my bike or walked down. And the games that time there weren't as many, obviously, and were morning games, afternoon games, and I just like being here. So, except for one time a game got a little out of hand with the Taiwanese, and they had some flags and stuff, but other than that, people back then can remember that a little bit, but that was the only time. Anyway.
I actually got to graduate from high school at Lamedy Stadium in right field.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. So hey, we'll get right into it. What's up at Webb Weekly?
We actually, speaking of sports, we actually have a great issue ahead of us. We have our cover story about Josh Richmond, who is an Olympic shooter. Somehow, the odds of this happening have to be astronomical, but we actually have two local people from Sullivan County that are both competing in the Olympics.
Amazing.
From what I understand, Josh's event is actually tomorrow. He shoots before opening ceremonies, and then Morgan Crafts is actually on Friday. So, want to wish them the best of luck.
Two fine young people, and Morgan, well, both of them, but I got to know Morgan a little better, and great lady. I wished I could shoot half as well as either one of them. So
yeah, we wish them the best of luck. Hope that they keep safe. There's obviously been some issues in Rio with the Olympics and them being prepared or not so prepared. So.
And incidentally, in your column in Webb Weekly, I caught up on all that this week, and it posed an interesting question in my mind. If one of my children were going over there, how happy would I be to be going to Rio right now? But
I guess if your kids are competing in a shooting event, you probably feel a little bit better.
I guess that's true. So what else you got?
John Priest also has a little piece about Josh and Morgan. He's also knows both of them very well, so he's got a piece on them. And then Jamie Spencer actually has a very interesting piece. He talked to Austin Gabb and Jake Jones.
Okay.
They are two local youth fishermen. Austin's dad stopped in the office this week to tell us about this fishing tournament that they're putting on, and we learned some interesting facts, like you can go to college on a fishing scholarship.
Who would have thought that?
Who knew?
A fishing scholarship.
As opposed to doing.
Incidentally, they probably give more than baseball scholarships.
Probably. Interesting. Jamie took an interesting approach to the interview process. Instead of sitting down with the two boys, they went fishing. And so he's got a great story about the two of them, or the three of them going fishing together, and what Jamie learned when he was out on the river, and then about the tournament that the two have put together to sponsor the Lycoming County Vet Transition Center. So nice. It's a great tournament to go, money going to a great cause. So that's the roundup of what's in the paper this week.
Well, excellent job. So I know we like to give things away.
We do, and since we're up here on the pike, what better place to give gift cards away to than right across the street at Biters.
Biters Home Center.
We have two $100 gift cards to Biters this week. Once again, if you're watching on the Webb Weekly page, if you're watching on the Williamsport Bureau of Police page, answer my trivia question below, and you be the first person, and you win one of the $200 gift certificates. So this week's trivia question, and Mr. Keener was actually kind enough to correct my question a little bit, so we had to adjust on the fly. So there have been 3 people to play in the Little League World Series, the College Baseball World Series, and the Major League Baseball World Series. So there's 3 people. Answer one of them below. First person to answer any of the 3 below wins one of the $100 gift cards to Biters.
And I'll give a little hint. Should I give a hint or don't you want me to?
You can give a hint.
One might have been very instrumental in the demise of the Yankee dynasty and the curse of the Red Sox.
All right.
So, and I'm going to give away some cross-cutter tickets, and I'm not a high-tech redneck. So call the office, 570-326-9322. I got cross-cutter tickets and Cutter's Cash for the first 2 people to call. And the Cutter's Cash, I had a couple people ask me, it can be used for adult beverages as long as you're of legal age. So call in and win some cross-cutter tickets.
Sounds good.
And Janice at Biters does know we're giving stuff away, right? We'll figure that out after the show.
We'll work it out.
Anything else you got?
That's it.
Okay, well, let's go to our first commercial break here today, and great job, Steph.
Thank you.
Over 30 years, one family of dealerships has grown to include 14 brands at 8 locations on an unyielding commitment to hometown values and unrivaled service, selection, and customer satisfaction for 30 years. Fairfield, for fair deals. You're gonna love us.
Grab your Explorer's passport and take off on an adventure at Clyde Peeling's Reptiland. Encounter a Komodo dragon. Go on a Jurassic safari. Meet an alligator. Feed feathered friends in the new Parakeet Landing. And more. Enjoy all there is to see and do at the zoo and get your Explorer's passport stamped for each one. Experience 40 species of reptiles and amphibians, life-size dinosaurs, beautiful budgies, and 5 different shows daily only at Clyde Peeling's Reptiland, Route 15, Allenwood.
We're back here at Little League Baseball, and we're in Steve Keener's office, so fittingly, and my guest is my great baseball friend and head man at Little League, Steve Keener. Good to see you.
Hey, Jim.
Thanks for having us.
Well, we're delighted to have you here. We
It's,
think the world of Webb Weekly, I think it serves a terrific, it has terrific value and a great purpose for the, 50, 60,000 readers of
Absolutely.
in our county. So my compliments to you and staff
Thank you.
and your staff for putting out a terrific publication. Really
Thank you.
needed in this community, and glad to see you doing it.
And I got to thank you and all the folks at Little League Baseball, because I do tend to do an April Fool's every once in a while. and no, Mr. Marino wasn't Mr. Trump's choice, but I want to thank you guys, because it's not the first one. You've been so good to Webb Weekly, and we've had a lot of fun. And usually you and I run into each other miles, thousands of miles away from here. It was funny because the joke was, if you and I weren't at a baseball game in North Carolina or somewhere, or eating at the Villa, we didn't talk, right?
That's right. Baseball serves the purpose of bringing people together in a lot of different
In
ways.
a lot of different ways.
And yes, you're right. I mean, obviously your boys, Jimmy had a great high school career, a couple, 2 state championships I think he was on, and going on to play in college, and now Hunter coming up through the ranks, and probably trying to follow in Big Brother's footsteps, and
Thank you, man.
we'll probably do just. But you're right. I mean, that's baseball has
Makes the world
a
small.
way of bringing people together. I always tell people one story about my own kids playing baseball. My 2 boys played a lot of basebtle, as you know,
And wife Cheryl.
and my wife Cheryl, and our daughter Maggie. When she was little, we were at a little tournament. They played in a couple of pretty high level tournaments, and my son bought his sister a shirt that says, "I have no life, my brother plays baseball."
And there's a lot
and there's a lot of truth to that.
For the siblings, it
Yeah,
absolutely
that's right.
is. And sometimes I feel bad. I see them when I'm traveling, and you do too, and it's not fun for them.
Yeah, no, but she.
But hey, you led me perfectly to Blowsuck Township. And I know you know a little bit on your bio from your younger days. Your dad was a teacher there.
Yeah.
Your dad was a big baseball guy.
Yeah, it's interesting. My dad was the high school basketball coach at Loyalsock Township High School, and that's where my brother and I really grew up, played Little League at the Loyalsock Little League, and then he got a job up at then Lock Haven State College and ended up coaching a number of sports up there. And so we moved up to Lock Haven when I was 11, because I played my last year of Little League in actually the Jersey Shore Little League at the time. Played for the Woolrich team, wore those hot wool uniforms. They were great. We thought they were the greatest things in the world. So kind of grew up, up in the Lock Haven area then, and until going to college. And my dad, wonderful man, great coach. I run into people all the time who played for him or went to school, and they always have very kind things to say about him. But he, when I was in college, I needed to do an internship to fulfill some undergraduate degrees, and I was talking to my dad, and as always, he had great advice for me. And he said, you ought to call Dr. Hale down at Little League headquarters and see if you might be able to do something there. And I did that, and Dr. Hale's son had played basketball for my dad, so there was a little bit of a connection there. So he at least gave a high school or a college senior a few minutes to come in and see him, and so I told him what I'd like to do, and he said, I think we can work something out. And so I did the internship, and a couple months into it, a full-time position actually opened up. And they called me into his office, and he said, you've been here for basically 2 months, kind of like an on-the-job interview, and we have a position open, and if you'd like to take it, we'd like to offer it to you. And if not, finish your internship, and as we promised, and I've been here ever since.
You never left.
Never left.
A labor of love.
It is.
And that one of the true things I say about you, and I don't say about just anybody, but you're a true baseball guy, and I think it's so important to Little League baseball that not only they have a gentleman with the business sense you have, but they got somebody running the program that's a true baseball guy. And we were looking around here, and one of my favorite things you showed me, I saw a piece of concrete over there. Tell them about that piece of concrete over there. That's a great story.
Dr. Hale was having a couple of knee problems back in 1989 and had arranged to take some of our really great volunteers out in the San Francisco Bay Area to the Major League Baseball World Series that year. So he didn't think he could make that trip. So he called me and he said, I want you to go. I want you to take these people to the games and thank them for me. So I did. Of course, we were sitting in Candlestick Park when the earthquake hit, and that alone was quite an unnerving experience.
I bet.
And as we were leaving the ballpark, a couple of our district administrators who were with me from the Concord, Oakland, San Francisco area, we saw a facade that had cracked and sort of pieces of concrete had crumbled off the stadium. And they said to me, why don't you take a piece of Candlestick Park home with you as a memory of your visit out here? So I picked it up and brought it home. And, of course, that World Series then went on. I think they delayed it about 10 days before they were playing.
Yeah, terrible time in the Bay Area.
But it's just a neat. But the thing I remember most about it is that I was with 2 or 3 people who have essentially really given their life to the Little League program, and we're so fortunate to have people like that all over the world that believe so strongly in the mission of this program that aside from their families and their professional lives, Little League is their life. And those were the people I was with when I got that. That's why it's actually more meaningful to me.
Absolutely. In a little West Coast time, then your son Nick's drafted by the Dodgers all those years later.
Yeah, I both my boys, Josh, my older son,
Right.
was a very good baseball player. Ended up playing at Coastal Carolina University. Of course, they just won the College World Series last year, and he was on some pretty good teams while he was there. And almost made it to Omaha, but not quite. They lost in the Super Regionals. And then Nick kind of came along after him, and Nick focused a little bit more on pitching and became really a terrific high school pitcher, and went on to college and went for a year down at Coastal Carolina and ended up transferring up to Mansfield University. Mm-hmm. And after his junior year, fortunate to be drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers and spent the better part of 3 seasons in the minor leagues with them, and just got released, I guess it was a year and a half ago at the end of spring training. So kind of living every Little Leaguer's dream.
And it begins at Little League.
Yeah.
And the dream of every 12-year-old boy, 11, 12 now, is always to make it here to Williamsport, South Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And even now, I mean, even this time of year, I still get that little added excitement looking forward to the World Series. And I know it's some heavy work time for you.
Oh, I mean, it's work time, but it's work time for a lot of people, and quite frankly, there's a lot more people here who work a lot harder than I do to make the World Series successful and possible. Long days, long hours, but we do it, and we do it with a smile, and because of the experience it provides the kids. And, you know, for years, Little League was a program just for boys. Up until the early 70s, and then obviously girls were permitted to play Little League Baseball, and then we started the softball program. You know, so today we have about 2.5 million boys and girls playing both baseball and softball. And
largest youth sports organization in the world,
yeah,
by far.
Well, we're the largest,
So,
and in, I guess, in my humble opinion, I think we're the best.
I agree.
And the spotlight is always on us. It seems like anything that happens in the world of youth sports, the public, the media, people want to know what is Little League doing about it, not what is, you know, the amateur soccer association or whatever. They want to know what Little League is. So it's you know, we're held in very high esteem, but along with that comes a significant amount of responsibility to do things the right way, and that's certainly always our goal, is to try to manage and operate this program the right way.
And I think right there we'll come back with some issues of Little League Baseball, safety being one of them, and we'll talk about Little League today, and we'll take a break for our good friends at Fairfield Auto Group and all the great deals going on.
Over 30 years, one family of dealerships has grown to include 14 brands at 8 locations, on an unyielding commitment to hometown values, and unrivaled service, selection, and customer satisfaction. For 30 years. Fairfield. For fair deals. You're gonna love us.
We're back with Steve Keener in my favorite setting I could possibly be at today. So, hey, safety. Safety is so important, and the first thing you think of safety in any sport today is concussions. And Little League has been ahead of the curve since its inception on safety. And maybe I'll let you take it from there and talk about safety and concussions.
Yeah, safety of the participants, obviously, most importantly the players, but also safety of the volunteers and fans and people at a Little League park is really our highest priority. And that goes back to my predecessor, Creighton Hale. In the mid-50s, he came to Little League Baseball, and you don't have enough time for the whole long story, but essentially he invented what is being worn today as the modern batting helmet. Still holds the patent on it. It's on display in our museum. So, you know, anyone that's ever been hit in the head with a baseball owes.
And I got to jump in. That isn't just for Little League. That's
for
baseball.
All baseball.
Yeah.
That's for all baseball, from Little League to the major leagues.
And the major leaguers weren't so quick to put them on.
No.
And then all of a sudden, a couple guys got clunked.
Yeah.
And then they showed up, and the rest is history.
So a lot of people have Dr. Hale to thank for making the game safer right out of the box. But that really set the tone for Little League Baseball being a leader in safety. So over the years, as the program has evolved, we've developed what we call a safety awareness program, which all of our leagues adopt, and that does everything from look at making sure field conditions are as good as they can be to play on, making sure that if you have old bleachers that you fix them up, or just the entire safety net around a Little League program. From a player safety standpoint, we've always tried to make decisions based on empirical data, not just anecdotal. You know, if somebody thinks the game would be safer if we do this. So we really try to make decisions based on with data to support them. And I'll give you an example. We had been seeing a number of significant increase in the number of injuries in Little League, both baseball and softball, due to the on-deck position. Kids don't pay attention. You know, they're kids. They walk around swinging a bat, and nobody's really so we made a decision based on the injury data that we keep to eliminate the on-deck position from Little League programs, and we saw those injuries
go down.
Go way down.
And I can tell you firsthand, at practice, I adopted your policy to
Mhm.
keep the kids, I won't say I always kept them out of the on, but they had to be back to the fencing or back
Sure.
behind. And because they just don't pay attention.
Well-
We're talking young kids too. I mean,
sure.
But
And
I mean,
we're
honestly,
talking volunteer coaches. We're talking people who aren't thinking about this every day.
Coach
like
Webb
we-
didn't always pay attention. You know what I'm saying? And people sometimes think, and you and I hear it, why do you have these rules?
Right.
And the only reason I ever tell people, simple, to protect kids and adults. But
And we have to regulate, unfortunately, to the lowest level,
Lowest
to
level.
the people that just won't pay any attention
Yeah.
to things. We have to say, here's the rule, here's the regulation. You have to abide by this. There's a good reason for it. You have to do it. The other one in more recent times, and I think we put it in 7, 8 years ago.
the pitch
The
count.
pitch count. We have Dr. James Andrews, who's one of the most noted orthopedic surgeons in the country. He's on our board of directors.
The man. When
He's
it
the
comes
man.
to- yeah, he's the man.
And we've known Dr. Andrews for a number of years, and he made a presentation to us at a meeting a number of years ago about what he was seeing as what he was calling an epidemic of arm, elbow injuries to 15, 16-year-old kids that was only going to get worse. And they were convinced that it was because of the overuse, kids pitching on multiple teams and pitching
Travel
year
baseball
round.
now is I mean,
And he'll tell you this today. Little League Baseball was the only organization that stayed after the meeting and went up to him and said, what can we do to help? And Dr. Andrews actually helped us formulate. He said, if you put a restriction on the number of pitches they can throw and encourage them to take a couple months rest when the season's over and don't throw at all, he said, those are the two biggest things you could do. So, long story
It
short,
was-
we developed a pitch count restriction and we put it in place, and it's really become the model for many other organizations to use. And what I'm really gratified to see is that a number of other youth programs are thinking about it, but starting I think in 2017, the National Federation of High School Sports, the governing body, is recommending that all 50 states implement a pitch count restriction for their high school baseball programs.
outstanding. And back to the pitch count. Kids use their arms so much more today, and the Little League was the first organization to step up. And you and I know we don't want to talk about travel ball today, but I think Little League had the foresight to look at, listen, it's about the year, the young
Yeah.
years of the developmental.
Right.
And it isn't just about where a kid would play Little League
No, that's right.
and then wrap it up for the year and rest his arm. And I tip my hat to what you guys did. And at the time, it was there were some people stirring, but as time's played on, I think everybody's understood. And the next thing you hear is more and more back to the major leagues falling Little League. I have never heard more about pitch count, how many pitches are allowed, than when Little League implemented it. It was like it fed all the way up to the top level.
Yeah, we're very proud of that. I mean, we're not gloating, but we're glad we did it when we did it. We just wish more organizations would really join the cause. You mentioned travel ball, and that's really the big. We have no objection to kids playing more baseball. That's
Right.
there's a lot worse things kids can be doing than playing baseball.
Oh, absolutely.
So playing's healthy, but they have to do it with some common sense, and that's where we have to educate parents and coaches to say, look, if your son or your daughter pitches 85 pitches in a Little League game on Thursday, our rules say you must have 4 full days of rest before you pitch again. So you shouldn't take that same player and put him in a travel team tournament on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday and pitch him 2 or 3 games over a weekend. But people do that.
People do that.
Because they think it's important to win this travel team tournament or to showcase their child. And what they're really doing is it's actually having a detrimental effect on the player.
You and I could do a whole
Oh,
show
sure.
on travel ball.
Sure.
And the one thing, and we both, our kids participate
Yep.
in travel ball, so everybody knows, Mr. Keeners, the one thing that you have to have the right coach, and I know that cares about the player first and baseball second.
Correct.
And I guess that's true all the way down, but travel ball can be so much more detrimental. I mean, I think parents get the idea that it's going to build their kid into a Division I player, and actually it can have the opposite effect.
Well, in my opinion, the real problem with Little League and travel ball trying to coexist is when they're being played at the same time.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, when you're in the Northeast, you have a short window of a baseball season. So that's probably why a lot of it gets jammed in there. But I'm proud to say my kids only played travel ball when their Little League or their high school season was over. They weren't playing at the same time. So they weren't playing on 2 teams at the same time, and that's what we're
Absolutely.
seeing more and more of today. The other thing that I would, while we're on that topic, is that year-round baseball is not healthy.
No.
I mean, that's been proven that the specialization, particularly at a very young age,
Yep.
from 9 to 12 to 13, to just play baseball year-round, actually will lead far more often to burnout, to problems, injury, than taking some time off and playing football or soccer or basketball or playing the band or
Violin, I was gonna say, you hit- yeah.
be in the orchestra, or go to an art class, do something, because the child, the likelihood that the child's ever going to go on and play and get a college scholarship or perhaps even play professionally are so slim that you're going to look back on this 10 years from now and say, why did we do that?
The money parents spent on travel baseball would probably pay for a year or two of college education.
No question.
And
Good
that's
start.
another story.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take
Okay.
a commercial break. You and I could talk all day. We'll come back with some closing thoughts and back to our good friends at Fairfield Auto Group.
Over 30 years, one family of dealerships has grown to include 14 brands at 8 locations on an unyielding commitment to hometown values and unrivaled service, selection, and customer satisfaction for 30 years. Fairfield. For fair deals. You're gonna love us.
And we're back, and Steve, the last thing, well, two things we'll talk about, but first, I want to compliment you on what a great job you did with Mr. Carl Stotts. Everything that's going on with Little League, we don't need to talk about, but he was the founder of Little League Baseball, and you have really put your arms around him and the family and brought them into the position that they deserve to be in, and your thoughts on that?
Well, when I came to Little League Baseball, I learned, I had to learn the sort of the circumstances and the story of why the division, the split between Mr. Stotts and Little League Baseball took place. And it always seemed to me that he was the founder of the program. He disagreed with the management here at that time about the direction that the program was going. But I really, that was all history. By the time I got here, you couldn't change any of that. So my point was, he is the founder. Why do we have, every year at the Little League World Series, why do we have to get involved in telling this story of this two people that were at each other's throat about an organization and try to heal it? And what I learned was his family really felt that he had been slighted and hadn't been acknowledged as the founder of the program. And I said, well, we can change that. And so we did. I went to our board of directors. I said, I think we can try to bury the hatchet, maybe heal some old wounds if we're willing to do this. And fortunately, my board of directors said, if you can make that happen, not me personally, but if we can make that happen, we think that's something that we should pursue. So again, the short version of a long story is we began a process of meeting with the Stotts family and talking to them about some things we thought we could do to, indicate that their father was the founder of the program, and we're going to highlight that. And we put a sculpture in at the stadium to honor him, and we put a very nice exhibit in the museum to honor him as the founder of the program. And I think they've appreciated that, and
I know they
I think it's just the right thing to do. We talked earlier about just doing the right thing. I think it was the right thing to do to acknowledge him as the founder and try to put the past behind us and go forward.
And I don't think Little League Baseball could have a better ambassador than you. And the whole Stotts family and Mr. Carl Stotts, I know they appreciate what you've done. And I think it was so important, like you said, to do the right thing and embrace the founding father.
Well, and I was really just the vehicle for the spokesman for it, but it really was our board of directors. They wanted this, and the way I guess a good business operates is the board really adopted the policy, and they said to me, go try to make this happen, and that was my job. So thanks to our board as well.
Oh, wonderful. The last thing I want to ask you, any message on this year's, we didn't even talk about this year's Little League World Series. Any message, any thoughts on that, anything you want to share?
Once again, 16 teams from around the world will be landing in Williamsport, probably around August 9th, 10th, somewhere I guess in that range. The community, as always, will put its best clothes on and
Absolutely.
make everybody feel so welcome to this small thing. And that's what makes the Little League World Series such a unique and sort of charming event, is that you're playing it at a sort of an iconic facility.
Hallowed
It's
grounds.
the dream of pretty much every kid who puts on a Little League uniform is to one day get here. But what gives this event its real charm is Williamsport, in South
Absolutely.
Williamsport. It's played in a community that's a small town like thousands around the world. People come here and they can relate. People smile at you. They say hello when you're walking down the street. If you need directions, they help. This isn't a big city where you get sort of the big city attitude and people not sort of connecting with each other. And that's what I think gives this event its appeal, is for the thousands of people who come from outside of this community. They fall in love with it.
Absolutely.
And they want to come back. You and I know, we've lived here, we've grown up, we know what this community's like. And I'm just happy that we get the chance to really show the world what it's like to
How
live
special
here
this area is.
every year in late August.
I'm blessed by God that I was born here, lived here my whole life.
Me too.
No place I'd ever want to be other than in here. And this is just one of those special things that make our area. And I thank you. Thanks for having us.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
for
My
what
pleasure,
you've
as
done
always.
to
Thank
take
you.
Little League Baseball to the next level. I'd like to come back in the off season, maybe have a hot stove meeting with you.
Sure.
Talk more about some of the other.
Happy to do it, anytime.
Well, we'll
Anytime.
take a break again for Fairfield Auto Group. We'll come back with my favorite segment of the week, Juliana and Webb Kids. And she's got a great guest today that's also baseball related.
Over 30 years, one family of dealerships has grown to include 14 brands at 8 locations. On an unyielding commitment to hometown values, an unrivaled service, selection, and customer satisfaction for 30 years. Fairfield. For fair deals. You're gonna love us.
Hi, I'm Juliana with Webb Kids. This week's guest is Owen Keys. Hi Owen, how are you?
I'm good, Juliana. How are you?
Good, thank you. First of all, how old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be entering my junior year at Montoursville High School.
I know you play a lot of baseball.
Yes, ma'am.
What teams do you play for?
I play for my high school team. I play shortstop for them. And in the summer, I play for the Bloomsburg Storm. And I'm used as a utility player for them.
Have you ever gone to a World Series?
Yes, as a matter of fact. My travel team last year out of Williamsport made it to the Babe Ruth World Series for our age group, which was 15, in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. And it was a great experience.
Besides baseball, I was told that you like farming.
Yes, ma'am. I'm really involved in agricultural and animals such as cows and pigs that we show at the county fair, my sister and I.
How does it feel to win 2 ribbons at the Lycoming County Fair?
It was a great time, very humbling experience that all of our hard work paid off, because you just can't work with your animal 1 month out of the year. It's a year-round thing.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
My dream ever since I was young was to play Major League Baseball, but as I get older, that dream starts to fade. But a realistic dream is to get into agriculture and farming.
Where do you go to work?
I actually work here at the Little League headquarters at the baseball camps, coaching young children and developing them into young men and women, because we have a few girls down there, and helping them become better baseball players.
Is there a best part of working at the Little League summer camp?
A really good part is watching kids develop, because we have a girl, Sabrina, she's here every session, and to see her go from week 1 to week 5, it's really cool to see her develop and get better over the weeks.
I'm Juliana. Thank you, Owen, for coming on with me.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. See you next week on Webb Kids.
Hey, we're back and closing from Little League Baseball, and there's a lot of excitement coming up here in the next couple of weeks, and I look forward to getting you come over every year.
Yes, I do. It's one of my favorite things to do. I get out of the office, I get to hang out with the ESPN photographers in the base wells, which is always an interesting time, so I'm looking forward to it.
The one shot you got, the one year of the young man, I can't think of his name, catching the ball, robbing the home run was unbelievable.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but hey, Juliana was great again with Owen Keys.
She always is.
So Owen travels with me, and we have a good time doing some travel baseball, and it was good to see Owen too. So I guess that's it for this week.
Looks like.
So hey, we'll see you next week for another episode of Webb Weekly Live, and great job, Steph.
Thanks, you too.
We'll take one last break for Fairfield Auto Group, and see you all next week.
Over 30 years, one family of dealerships has grown to include 14 brands at 8 locations. On an unyielding commitment to hometown values, an unrivaled service, selection, and customer satisfaction for 30 years. Fairfield. For fair deals. You're gonna love us.